Hello and welcome. About 2 decades ago, we saw the creation and the advent and the building and the evolution of the business process outsourcing industry, which became the business process management industry. Much has changed. A few years ago, there was talk about artificial intelligence coming and destroying all these jobs and putting a lot of skills and talent and people at risk. But that's not quite happened for various reasons. And let's find out what happened, how companies, particularly in that space, are now shaping up and what lies ahead. To do that is no other than, and perhaps the best person to discuss this is Raman, founder of Quatrro Solutions, mostly and often known as the father of the BPO industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Raman. So tell us, if I were to ask you to sort of paint a landscape of what's been happening in the last few years in the process and the process management industry and what's fundamentally changed and perhaps not changed, more importantly.
So, there are 2-3 aspects of what is happening in the marketplace. A lot of companies outsourced a large part of what they do, and therefore the knowledge became resident with either their outsourcing partners or their captives within India. But the knowledge came into India what had to be done. And then came in newer technologies, whether you take something that has been very successfully implemented in terms of voice recognition, automated answering, etc. But what the questions were lay within India rather than offshore. We as a country, as an industry out of India, which includes the GICs, the global in-house centers, and the third-party vendors, we helped implement that capability. Did it impact jobs? Yes, it did, because when the automated voice recognition aspects came in, some components of the job went away. But where it was complex, so take any airline industry as an example. I need to go from New York to San Francisco. What are the options? I want to come back from San Francisco to New York. What are the options? But hey, I want to go from New York to DC, from there to Chicago, then I need to go to San Francisco, from there I need to go there, and then I need to come back to New York. Some part of the automation was unable to tackle it, and it still needed a human intervention. So the human jobs became of a different category. What I'm trying to bring out is, it brought the aspect of assisting in that automation, which was not necessarily the skill set we had if you go back 2 decades ago. So as an industry, we built that skill set of implementing newer technologies, supporting newer technologies. That became a kind of a business segment. And then the higher end jobs, which required a different level of capability, different level of training, happened. So, and this example is out of what has successfully been implemented. And you spoke of AI and big data and machine learning. Exactly the same thing is playing out. There is a knowledge base. But the way I look at it is, these aspects, we as a country, and this includes the global in-house centers and the third-party vendors. As an industry, we were vendors when labor arbitrage played a role in getting those jobs into India. When it now comes to implementing these higher-end technologies, we have a knowledge base, we have a capability that our customer does not have. And when we talk, we are now sitting as equals on the table. And that, to my mind, is a big deal. Because now you're sitting as an equal trying to find a solution that will work for the customer. And the compensation methodologies are different, what you bring to the party is different, the way you treat it is different. I mean, I can tell you, as a company, some of my staff, which came from the older model, cannot yet get used to being an equal on the table. So it's a different kind of skill set that we need to train our staff to say, just because it is the customer they are asking us a question and silence is not a good answer, because you know the answer, but you know, how do I handle that to the customer? What the customer is saying is all wrong. No, I did not contradict him. Now you're sitting as an equal. You have the right to contradict, you have the right to bring out the facts. So that is an evolution that is happening. So one is that creating part, the second is the servicing part. What I think will happen, again, if you go back to the evolution of this industry, when the newer thing came in, they first went to the captives, the global in-house centers. Only once they got comfortable, it went to third party, or it came as a pilot to the global in-house centers. Once the pilot was successful, it expanded. You will see that same evolution go through it again, because it is new and it is an unknown and it is really a level playing field. The world is truly flat. In our older days, when the customer came and trained us on things that they gave us, they had done it for 20 years. They knew precisely where it would go wrong. They knew precisely how to fix it. In the newer world, they've never done it before. We've never done it before. So that collaboration is of a different caliber. The point I guess I'm trying to bring out is, where it will settle, I don't know. But there is a very fundamental change that we are going through. I know it will be good for us. To what extent it will be good for us as a country, as an industry, time will tell. It is also up to us to be able to bring those resources, those capabilities, whether it is, cliched words, whether it is blockchain, big data, machine learning, 3D printing. Will we have people who have the skill set? Actually, at one level, the world has no option, because they don't have enough people anywhere else in the world for what they can get in India. But get them to the level of readiness to serve. That delta, the time has grown significantly. And whether the industry will continue to invest in that time, because at one level our employees are spoiled. We hire them on a salary and then we train them. The training time for the new age technologies has gone up dramatically, because the quality of the raw material is good, but they do not come with any input of a level where it just needs to be cut and polished. It has to be added before it is cut and polished, and that is dramatically increasing the cost. So time will tell where it settles down, but it's exciting times.
And could you illustrate some of this with an example where you talked about sitting at the table as an equal, and then perhaps hesitating and then speaking up and saying, okay, here is what we can do and we can do it better, thanks to the knowledge that you have now, which is essentially more than 2 decades old?
So if you take various aspects of AI, you take aspects of what data you can pick up from various devices, the IoT devices, what can be done. Earlier we were not privy to that data. Even our customers were not collecting those data. IoT devices were not there. Now getting that data, the IT arms write the software to be able to store that data, massage that data, come up with things, and how it can be interpreted, because the knowledge of the people who've been interacting with the customer can bring in insights that make that data come to life. So it's an evolution that will happen, and at least I'm seeing early signs of it.
And in these conversations with your clients, people are asking you, as you said, for inputs which are way more value added than what they were even a few years ago. So what would be a good example again? If let's and which industry where do you think that I'm sure it's many industries, but where you think that Indian companies, including yourself, have been able to land at a much higher point than they were earlier?
See, fintech, as we lovingly call it, the financial services company was what initiated at least the BPM part of the business, and then it kind of expanded. Within the financial services companies, it was the back office, the accounting back office that initiated it. I see financial services playing as a big role. I see health playing as a very, very, very big role, though at the moment we are just putting our toe into the water. Because where healthcare will go, what aspects will come in, and where a remote capability can play a role is yet to evolve. But as a potential area, I'm very bullish on what healthcare will bring.
Right. And if you look ahead, or rather as you look ahead into 2019 and 20, what are the 2 or 3 significant threats and opportunities that you're looking out for personally?
No, so, the match of what job losses will happen or job replacements will happen to the match of the higher level jobs, it is not going to be totally synchronized. And to the extent it is synchronized, will I be, I use the royal I as industry, will we be able to take the people who are doing, rule set based jobs and retrain them into problem solving, decision making jobs almost simultaneously? It ain't going to happen. So there is a lag for that training to happen, and there is also a competency level. Not everybody who was able to do the rule set based is going to be able to do the higher end jobs. So that mismatch is going to be the biggest issue. The skill set gap is going to be the biggest issue for the industry.
Right, and it's almost like a dramatic churning moment where some things will go and settle down, other things will get flung out.
Absolutely.
And newer things or people will come in.
I mean, you had Jeff Immelt talking this morning to say, I thought he put it brilliantly. You're going in a 777 aircraft, there are 2 aircraft engines there. Do you want the engineer who made those engines to have changed his job every 18 months and you'll feel comfortable sitting in that plane? Or do you want that engineer to have worked for 10 years and have a total understanding of the aircraft engines, and then he designed the next engine? And that, it's that learning, that capability, we as an industry have that learning and the capability. It is how we are going to be able to leverage it and how we're going to retrain those people to the next generation.
Right. So, and as we speak and you speak, there is a huge effort underway by, let's say, bodies like Nasscom, companies themselves. Billions of dollars are being spent.
It's our single largest initiative as Nasscom.
Right. So, and yet what you're saying is that despite all that effort, it's not going to consume and reach and touch everyone.
No, I guess the point I'm making is you can take the horse to water. But it's the kids who have to be retrained who have to be retrained.
Right. And if I were to now ask you to look back at your own experience in the many upskilling and reskilling efforts that have happened over the years as technology has changed, consumer needs have changed, how do you think this challenge holds up to us? I mean, is this the biggest ever in terms of
I don't think it's a big challenge. It is that understanding of how that knowledge transfer will happen. We are sitting at NTLF. If you've gone around here, some of the visual reality training options some of the startups are doing, and I've been very excited seeing them. You put on the glasses and they take you through a whole lot of training that you could not possibly do in a classroom. There are newer techniques that have to be imbibed. There are newer learning methodologies that have to be imbibed. There are new experimentations that has to be done. Us as an industry and the employee, they both have to adapt to the new world. And it will not be in sync, but
it'll come close.
Yeah, it will be mutually beneficial. It has to happen.
What I'm trying to understand is the complexity of this challenge versus previous challenges.
No, the complexity is there. I mean, if I go back to history, when I first got the credit card processes, I had gone and put my neck out to say we'll be able to do credit card processing work.
Remotely.
First batch, 25 people, less than 2 qualified. We said, oh shit, we probably chose the wrong people, the training was not right, get the overseas trainers to come in. We did a far better curation of the training. Second batch, 3 people qualified. And there's my senior sitting across me from the customer saying, Raman, you're wrong. You can do accounting, you can't do credit cards customer servicing, they don't get it. And one was so foxed to say, but it is so darn simple, why is it not working? And you know what, once we did the analysis, we realized the entire courseware was written for the overseas student who had a credit card, who could understand APR, who could understand there's interest, who can understand limits. Our kids didn't have a card, their pop didn't have a card. So third batch, we added a module saying, hey guys, this is what a credit card looks like. This is how it operates. I had 80% people coming through. So it is a matter, to bring that to our environment on which way it will work. And some of these newer capabilities, whether our kids will take to it like fish to water, like duck to water, whatever the terminology is, we have to build those bridges. That is our challenge to be able to build.
Right. And finally, last question. So the 1 or 2 things that in some ways either keep you awake at night or you're most excited about?
Actually, I would bring both those things together to say what I'm excited about and what I worry about. I think there is a huge opportunity. And if we don't do it right, we will miss the bus. And that is what keeps me awake at night to say, what am I missing in the opportunity? A lot of it is to do with high tech. A lot of it is, you can't take that high tech and take it to the classroom to train. You have to make it into bite-sized pieces. And whether we are able to take it to bite-sized pieces where kids can understand, learn, and then be able to implement. So the opportunity is huge. We may miss the bus.
Right, Raman, that's a good note to end on, and as a note of caution and what to look out for. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me.